Considered dangerous and a job where too many workers haven't come home safe to their whānau, forestry hasn't had too many public wins.
It's also had a drugs problem with cases of workers high and operating heavy machinery in rough and rugged terrain. But there's been a change for East Coast forestry workers and the industry is quietly chuffed with the results.
There are some serious big toys out here. And at the centre of it is this boss in shorts, Shane Maguire.
I've always run crews from a young age. Didn't want to work for somebody else for the rest of my life. Whānau logging started probably 8.5 years ago, 9 years ago now. I started off with just a little hauler crew working in Wairangi Forest for Hikarangi Forestry. We've now grown into 2 operations have about 16 staff. I've got a couple of guys here that have started with nothing and now they've topped me. Might have sacked them half a dozen times, but they keep coming back. But they're good men.
Forestry's had a troubled reputation.
That was the culture of work hard, play hard, all that bullshit, kidding ourselves. Might be able to put the plates in there and shape it so you can bolt it on me.
The industry estimates 40% of workers are Māori, but certain stereotypes have persisted in forestry more than most.
Yeah, definitely portrayed a bunch of dope smokers, low educated, uneducated, but definitely not out here. These guys are well skilled. You've got to be qualified to do the job, and not everybody can do the job.
But over 5 years, there's been a long, slow uphill battle to change.
We were concerned in terms of safety. People were getting hurt. We had an image problem. People said that the industry was full of drugs, and that was partially true. And probably more importantly, productivity. Guys who can't turn up for work every day and do a full day's work are not giving full value. And if that's because of drugs, then hey, let's do something about it.
Kei raro pōke ao rā waki ngā kaimahi I noho hoa rā kia Robert Arapeta e pāpara e rua tekau mā toru ngā tau, whaimuri ho I tōna matenga I te hingatanga o tētahi rākau ki runga I aia.
Calls are mounting for the forestry industry to step up its commitment to safety following the 6th workplace death this year.
There's been yet another death in the forestry sector, bringing the death toll to 8 so far this year. Unions are again calling for tougher safety rules following the death of another forestry worker. It's the 10th fatality in the industry this year.
2013 was a disastrous year for the industry. We had 10 odd deaths, but we were 2-3 years down track in terms of the drug side of it at that point.
All industry members in Tairāwhiti, unlike other regions, are part of a random drugs testing program. At the start, the results were dire. In July 2010, the first month that you started testing,
Yes.
30% of tests came back failed.
Failed.
At that point, what did you think?
We have a problem. The initial stages, some of the crews out there were being decimated. That really was hard. They were losing 6 and 7 people out of 10 or 12 in the crew. And it took a real strength. They held their line and didn't buckle under and fall away from this regime. And we now are getting the benefits of that, because the number of people being caught with drugs have, as you see, is more than halved. We've reduced from 17%, 14% down to 8%. So that's the current level.
In 2010, the average failure rate of those tested was 17%. It's half that now. Are there enough rehab services in place to help those people?
No, that's where we're sadly deprived. The social service, the rehabilitation services available through the public health system are swamped by the justice system and people going through the courts and getting priority. And also for our needs, it's far too slow. It was taking up to 6 weeks to decide whether or not the guy had a serious drug problem or not.
Kia ora. Hi, how are you? I'm Maggie. Kia ora, Maggie. Yvonne? Yes. Yvonne. This morning we're going to do a drugs test.
But there is no wait for the random test and results are immediate.
Everybody knows that if they want a job pretty much in Gisborne, they have to have a drugs test. I mean, there's very few industries that don't do it, but the forestry industry, I mean, I can remember way back someone saying to me it was like an industry sorting out a society's problem, and that's to a huge extent what the forestry industry has done for the East Coast industry, area, is that it's made drug use unacceptable, I think, within the industry, which is good.
The test is simple.
So what do I have to do, Maggie?
You have to pee in a jar.
Okay.
You have to do Mimi for me. And you get complete privacy in the toilet. You're not to be observed unless you're with the police or the military or whatever. We'll pick up bottles or whatever out of the toilet at times, but again, to a large extent that has stopped, yeah. Right, I'd like you to sign the form for me, please, Yvonne.
Yeah.
So through there, your signature's required, and that's just saying that you're happy to do the test.
Okay. That was about, 15 minutes?
We've had instances when we've waited for a lot longer, I assure you. Okay, so there's the test result come up now. Each of these panels represents the drug you're testing for. So amphetamine, benzodiazepine, cocaine, methamphetamine, opiates, and marijuana at the end. The top line is your control line, and that simply means that the test is reading accurately.
Okay.
If those control lines were absent, then we would use another test kit. The bottom line is the test line, and those lines must show up for a negative result or no drugs result.
My bosses at Marae can be confident that I am not
You are drug-free for all the drugs we tested you for.
clean.
Alcohol, clean, yep.
When you fail random drug tests here, really we only have two options. You either go to rehab, or if you've been done before, you're dismissed.
He's known workers who've been hurt and died in here.
Everything you do in this job is either going to hurt you or it's going to kill you out here. Drugs in the mix, and you're not thinking straight. I've seen a lot of accidents over the years. It's not something anybody wants to see, or their mates being hurt. I have my own son in here, and that's the last thing I would want, getting chopped out or carrying him out. And
Did you used to do drugs at work?
yeah, I did. Yeah, I'd be kidding myself if I said I didn't. Yep.
What changed for you, and when did it change?
The opportunities of growing something for myself. If you want to get somewhere in this industry, you have to make a change.
He's chuffed at the changes he sees in his team.
You got guys here, that's their goal, is to finally move on and get their own home. Simple things like being able to understand what a bloody Kiwi saver is now, you know, and it's how to get started in life, you know. The satisfying part, I suppose, I get out of it is they're more productive, they're more reliable for my operation. You see the change in the guys. Like I spoke before, we've got guys here that were smokers all their lives. They moved to town, made a change in their lives for their families and themselves, and they're really doing well out of it, you know. And they got a lot more pride in their work now too. Yeah.
Mana logging, going against the grain, it's trying.
Helen Kelly of the CTU has pushed for greater accountability and safety measures. She told Marae drugs accounted for few of the 28 deaths between 2008 and 2012. And for years, the industry's obsession with drug testing had been bloody outrageous and skirted the real issues. And she says the accident rate dramatically decreased by 60% over the last 18 months because of an increased focus on fatigue and safety practices.